What's up, my fellow brew bros and brew sisters? This is Magus the Brew, the podcast where we go over contrived combo decks in Commander. Today we are going over Demonlord Belzenlok, and the cold one that we are cracking open is the Pizza Port Brewery double IPA, the Kook. This is a very good beer and dedicated to all those who embrace their first wave and their inner kookness. So let's paddle out and get ready to ride this sludge fest of a deck. Well, as you know, Dominaria is upon us. I think it actually came out today. So all the new cards, the spoilers we've been dealing with and looking at for the past month or so are officially out. So a lot of new commanders, more than you would think would be in a even regular commander set. I have no idea what Commander 2018 looks like at this point. So one of the ones we're doing today, or the one we are doing today, is Demonlord Belzenlok. Demonlord Belzenlok is, admittedly, I dismissed him the first time I saw him. I thought, it's cool, he replaces himself. That's fine, I guess. It's not particularly interesting. Maybe get a couple cards. Maybe you could top. I don't know. But lore-wise, he is the fourth in the quadrilogy of demons that own some part of Liliana's soul, I guess. And as far as his fellow demon compatriots and comrades, he is, power level-wise, probably second from last. He's not very good. We can go over them quickly. Gristlebrand, obviously number one. The ability to pay 7 life, draw 7 cards. If you could cast any turn you cast a Gristlebrand, would be a turn that you win on. He is the newest Yawgmoth's Bargain, which is actually banned in Commander as a card. So having Yawgmoth's Bargain on a Commander makes him incredibly broken, and that is a reason why he is banned altogether. The second one after him would probably be Razaketh from a Monket. Razaketh has, he's Demonic Tutor on a stick. You do have to sacrifice a creature though, and that makes him a little bit harder to build around, a little less good. He costs 8 mana, I want to say. It's a lot. You can build decks around him, but as a commander, he's a little bit lackluster. The requirement to sacrifice a creature is most likely too much for a normal deck. It's just too difficult. Demonlord Belzenlok falls in the third category. Like I said, he replaces himself, which is not bad. And then the last one is Clothloplop Soul Herder. And he's a rock's throw from useless, to be completely honest. He's nothing. I've never been inspired to brew with him. I've never seen a deck that was halfway decent with him. It just borderline useless. He's probably 35 cents if he's lucky. So let's get right into this deck tech for Demonlord Belzenlok. So initially, I passed him up. I didn't see his ability as being that powerful. It wasn't until I figured out that you could play Demonlord Belzenlok as your commander and then play 99 lands, and you would, in fact, exile your entire library. Now, you would lose if you do this, which nobody wants to just lose. But it did get me thinking a little bit. And let's start the wheels turning. So how this deck essentially functions as is, if you think of in pre-modern format, there was a Hypergenesis was a deck in Extended before Extended became modern. And you had certain deck building requirements that allowed you to then cast a specific card and then kind of tear through. And it was more of a deterministic type combo where if you did X, Y would happen. And that is the way we're building Demonlord Belzenlok today. It's very similar to the old Hypergenesis deck of the days. So the deck as itself runs 75 lands, which seems like a lot, but there is in fact a reason. And Demonlord Belzenlok actually reads that he's a as we break down the card. He is a converted mana cost 6, legendary creature, Elder Demon, flying trample, and he's a 6/6 beyond his ability. And if you didn't notice, converted mana cost 6, power toughness 6/6. I guess he's the real demon, the real Satan, the real Lucifer. I guess also you could think about the little shitty drawings that people do. Old Baphomet, I guess would be the correct pronunciation of that one. But his ability reads that when Demonlord Belzenlok enters the battlefield, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card. Then you put that card into your hand. If that card's converted mana cost is 4 or greater, repeat the process. Demonlord Belzenlok deals 1 damage to you for each card put into your hand this way. So, like I said previously, if you had only lands, you would exile your whole deck. You'd actually take no damage from this, but you lose, so it would be pointless. So this deck has to function in the way that you would take everything in your deck has to be converted mana cost 4 or greater. So no Soul Ring, no Mana Crypt, no Demonic Tutor, no Vampire Tutor. Any of the cards that you would want to play, you kind of have to avoid them, unfortunately. But there is a way to do this. Now, how this deck works is you need effectively 10 mana to win on the turn that you cast Demonlord Belzenlok. You need 4 black mana and 6 colorless mana. This starts with casting Demonlord Belzenlok, exiling every land from your library, and then putting every card that you drew that way into your hand. Now, at this point, since you have 4 mana, the 2 black and 2 colorless remaining, you cast Necrotic Ooze. Necrotic Ooze has the ability that it's 2 black and 2. And as long as Necrotic Ooze is on the battlefield, it has activated abilities of all creatures in all graveyards. Now, using the creatures from your opponent's graveyard is not really the point. You're trying to win yourself, so I would not depend on that. And we're intending to win on this turn, so he's very important at this point. So you cast Necrotic Ooze. Now, from this point, you just have a huge hand, you have no library left, and no graveyard. So Necrotic Ooze is functionally useless. So the trick here is to cast Unmask. Unmask is a old sorcery from Mercadian Mask set that it costs 3 and a black, and has an alternative casting cost. If you may remove 1 black card from your hand instead of paying its mana cost. So you remove a black card that you're most potentially not going to use. And then Unmask reads that look at target player's hand and choose a non-land card from it, and that player discards that card. Now, instead of unmasking your opponents, which you would think would be the stronger play in this case, you actually unmask yourself, because it does say target. Unmasking yourself, you discard Scourge Familiar, which is a very old card and very strange. Scourge Familiar has a converted mana cost of black and 4, so converted mana cost 5. And it has, as an activated ability, choose and discard a card from your hand, add 1 black mana to your mana pool each time you discard a card. So, discarding him first. Now this gives your Necrotic Ooze the ability to freely discard cards for mana. One of the first cards you discard is Skithiryx, the Blight Dragon, everybody's favorite Skittles commander. Skithiryx, in this case, though, despite generating a lot of heat for playing him, has one ability that we care about. He has an activated ability for 1 black, and for that 1 black, he gains haste until the end of the turn. So you can discard Skithiryx, use that 1 black mana to give your Necrotic Ooze haste, which is the start. After that, discard a couple more cards, including Magus of the Coffers. Magus Coffers is the functional reprint of old Cabal Coffers, which has the ability to pay 2, tap it, add 1 black mana for each swamp you control. This will generate you a lot of mana, assuming you maybe even you just have 10 lands at this point, but they'll all be swamps in this case because we run only swamps in this deck. So you can tap your Ooze, generate hopefully 10 mana, and then at this point, because it's in your hand already, cast Sword of the Parunes, which is cost convert mana cost 4. It has irrelevant text for the most part, but it does have an equip cost of 3, and you may pay 3 mana to tap or untap equipped creature. So using the 10 mana that you have, you cast Sword of the Parunes, equip it to your Necrotic Ooze, and then with the remaining mana, untap your Necrotic Ooze. And then this, provided you have enough mana, which you should, lets you create infinite mana by tapping and untapping. And then now that you have infinite taps and untaps, you can win the game. So the first combo is to use Crackling Imp of Old Mirrodin. Mirrodin common, total heater. It has the ability to tap for nothing, and target player loses 1 life. Small drain effect. But now that you've generated infinite untaps, because you have infinite mana, you can actually drain out all of your opponents. Now, this should realistically win you the game, but maybe somebody was sandbagging something, and then we have ways around this too. We also run Clockwork Dragon, which is also an old Mirrodin block card that has the activated ability of pay 3 mana and add a +1/+1 counter to Clockwork Dragon. In this case, it'll be Necrotic Ooze because you discard it. And then, since you have infinite mana, you can make infinite +1/+1 counters. And then you use everybody's favorite card, Triskelion, of the old Mike and Trike combo, to ping and machine gun the entire table. You only do this in response. Or you could start with that, and then with Crackling Imp. It's up to you at this point. The deck also runs Helldozer for fun, because Helldozer is a very silly, very giant zombie giant. It very specifically costs 6 mana, 3 and 3 black, and for the ability to destroy a land, you have to pay 3 black mana and then tap him. He does actually untap if you destroy a non-basic, but because we have infinite untaps in this case, you can destroy everybody's lands, which won't win you the game, but it's at least frustrating to your opponents. So if you want to tease them a little bit. Beyond that is the official combo. Now, if you want to win prior to 10 mana, let's say you have 6, we do have a tricky way of doing that. So you will cast Demonlord Belzenlok, exiling all the lands and drawing your deck, and you have to discard to hand size. So discard all combo pieces, Scourge Familiar, Magus the Coffer, Skitherix, anything you need to throw into your graveyard to go into proper hand size. From this standpoint, one of the cards you have to discard, though, for sure, is Darksteel Colossus, or Blightsteel Colossus, because it's functionally, in this case, the same card. And they both read if Darksteel Colossus, or Blightsteel Colossus in this case, would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, reveal Darksteel Colossus, and shuffle it into its owner's library instead. This gives you a 1-turn buffer. So you can cast Demonlord Belzenlok, draw your deck, discard down to hand size, and then the next turn you will draw Darksteel Colossus. Now, it is a little bit risky from this standpoint, because now your opponents are going to sandbag whatever combos or whatever, anything to stop your combo. And that makes it very dangerous to go off. But you could do this way if you wanted. And the combo works exactly the same way. You cast Necrotic Ooze. Now all the creatures in your graveyard, discard what you have to get enough mana, and generate infinite mana and win again. Beyond that, the deck runs a few kind of cards that we'd expect in mono black. Damnation as one of the best board sweepers in the game. Your Golem's Eye, Sissy's Ring, and Hedron Archive are all functionally the same. They're a little bit of mana ramp. It just to try to get you that 10 mana threshold a little bit faster. It also runs Thran Dynamo, which is actually a little bit better. And Gilded Lotus, which is better, but in this deck it's not really. It's some slight mana ramp, but it still kind of keeps you a turn behind. It doesn't jump you up an additional turn. The only card in this deck that actually gives you that initial boost is Cryptghast, which for a black and 3 has the ability of whenever you tap a swamp for mana, add an additional black to your mana pool. This actually allows you to win on turn 5. If you cast Cryptghast on turn 4, play your 5th swamp on turn 5, you can cast Demonlord Belzenlok and go through the entire rotation to win and drain out all your opponents or machine gun them, however you want to win. on turn 5. That is the quickest way this deck can win. We also run Demir House Guard only specifically versus transmute cost. We can't run Demonic Tutor, we can't run Vampire Tutor, we can't run Imperial Seal. Any of the really good tutors we can't run because they would effectively nerf our Belzenlok combo. So Demir House Guard actually gives you a turn 3 play. The deck doesn't have a lot of anything before turn 4, can't really do. So that gives us a slight speedier clock, because that is the god hand in this deck. Would be a handful of swamps and a Cryptghast. And a handful of swamps and a Demir House Guard is almost the same thing. We also run a few slight removal cards. We run Contagion. Again, it costs enough mana. It has alternative casting cost, so you can hit it early. And we run Snuff Out, which is effectively the same card. Not exactly, but it's removal for a high cost, but with alternative casting costs. This is only important because you need, depending on your land to combo piece ratio, you need to preserve your life total at least a little bit. I mean, in Commander, you start off at 25, or you start off at 45 or 40 life. 40 life, and you have to stay at least above 25 in my iteration of the deck. You could skew it a little bit, but you're going to be running at least quite a few combo pieces. And Demonlord Belzenlok deals you 1 damage for each card you reveal. So if you reveal too many, you die. And there's no May ability on this. You can't stop. You are locked in. Once you go for it, you're going for it. And that is functionally how the deck works. It's a little silly, a little contrived, but it's fun, and I was happy to break it. It was a cool little experiment. It took me about a week to figure this one out. So I hope everybody has a great weekend. Welcome to the first Magus the Brew podcast, and I'm going to finish this beer, and you enjoy yourselves.